heading for vacation. And we are live with Heather Remac. Heather, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Azar?
I'm doing fantastic. Heather and I have known each other for almost a year now. Fantastic human being and an even amazing leader um, in the digital marketing agency field. So Heather's running SalesSong for over a decade now,
Mhm.
and the work she's doing is just incredible. Heather, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing beautifully.
Heather, I have a question for you. Do you mind telling us a little bit about who Heather is? How do you end up launching an agency for yourself? Like, what was the genesis story? Who are you? Why are you doing this?
Yes, I'd love to. It's actually a pretty unique story. So, not going back too far, but kind of as an origination, I actually landed a position in marketing at a Fortune 500 when I was 16 years old. So I was able to start in a high level Fortune 500 marketing space really early on and learn the ropes. So I worked in a couple different segments of marketing at this Fortune 500 over several years time span, and when I felt like I had learned a lot and I loved that experience, and I felt like I wasn't making the impact that I wanted to make. So I actually left corporate. I resigned. I studied psychology and biology and earned degrees, and I became a medical counselor for several years. And that has actually helped me so much in what I do now because I truly understand the way people think at a level that most people don't have access to. So when I started my agency about 10 years ago, the concept of it was to do overall thorough beginning to end marketing and helping businesses scale, both of which we do. But also it was to connect experts with the people who need them no matter where they live. Because when I was in counseling, I saw so many people needing experts that they didn't have access to. And I wanted to be the resolution around that. So we serve service-based businesses and people selling knowledge and information. We handle the digital marketing piece, so the online piece, but we serve businesses online and offline in order to help people to grow or help with services they need.
Nice, nice. That
Mhm.
sounds all very exciting. And your elements of working at a Fortune 500 inside a marketing agency. How long was that work experience, Heather?
I worked in corporate for 9 years. So it was a longer period of time. And then, like I said, I
And then
left.
just boom, completely. That's the calling. You're going after that,
Mhm. Yeah.
and you go and do that. You get degrees in that.
Yes, and I'll be honest, everybody thought I was crazy, right? My whole family thought I was crazy because I landed this job at a Fortune 500 that's supposed to be what you want, the stability of it. And I don't know, I've just always felt myself into the next right thing. And then when
Mm.
I felt comfort in that, I would move forward. And I haven't budged in the digital marketing space. A lot of people change gears. I haven't budged in 10 years. I really love what I do and I love who I serve. But I think that I had a higher calling that I didn't really understand back then. I just felt out the next right step and moved towards that with the trust and surrender that I was moving in a direction that I was meant to be. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and I think that gives you a unique perspective in what you do, and that's gonna help you build out this niche agency of yours, where you guys are. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have a lot of focus on just the messaging on how people interact, looking at maybe a booth design or a website design, and what the words that are being said, right? Like usually, a lot of times we don't get time to get to that top down thinking where
Mhm.
what's going to connect. And working with you this year, I realized that that's a huge part of any business, especially any businesses who are growing from six figures to seven figures and beyond. We don't even look at stuff like that, right? Like we're just doing, not thinking that, hey, we understand this, but our target market might not be understanding, and you have a big huge focus on that.
Yes, yeah. It's very psychology focused, which is where I came from. That's part of the I guess value of where I came from previously. But it's understanding the minds of the people that the business owner is serving and presenting them with a pathway that makes sense to them over time.
Mm,
And honestly, giving a personality to the brand as well. A lot of
mm,
brands, when they start off, they they're afraid to have a depth of personality. They tend to be a little bit vanilla, which feels safe to them, but it doesn't really expand people's heartstrings into wanting to be a part of something bigger. We all want to be a part of something bigger, right?
Mm,
So when we expand out the messaging, but also expand out the personality behind the brand, it gives the brand more depth and people want to invest. And price becomes a little bit less of an issue. You know,
mm,
the viability of the brand is really important to them. They want to invest in it, so they tend to make that a goal, and
mm.
yeah, and thrive based on that. So it's around like the messaging and the development of a
Very
personality.
interesting.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Highly recommended for anyone who's building a brand right now or think that they have a brand, and just speak to Heather, because you're gonna get ideas that you have not thought about, especially for businesses who are seven figures, multi seven figures. That's a huge, huge opportunity, because just that switch alone, Heather, like you said, can have a huge impact on just your sales with everything that you're doing. You don't have to change anything, just switch the messaging, and you'll see a very short term impact on the stuff that you're doing already.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Generally, it just simple messaging will bring in several thousand to multiple five figures per month more. When we put a marketing campaign behind it, it's oftentimes that we 5x the revenue between 9 and 12 months out. So
Mm.
it does. It really changes the way that the brand interacts, but it doesn't detach from what the business owner has built. It just expands on it.
I love those multiples, Heather. That's amazing.
Mm.
All
It's a lot
right.
of fun.
So, yeah, I know. And that's what it's all about, right? Like at the end of the day, we want to continue to grow our businesses.
Mm.
And, if you really, really, truly feel passionately about it, and you think that there's a missing link, then I think working with Heather would just like, that's the missing, like even if you're a marketing agency, Heather, you're specializing in service based businesses as well. So, like if SaaS business, any type of business, we've consulted with Heather. So yeah, it's something very unique, something amazing. What a great, great agency. What a great story of putting together your calling and your experience and doing something amazing in the field that you love. Heather, I'm going to go into my three more questions segment. This is going to be exciting. I've prepared these questions specially for you so that our viewers and listeners can get a little something out of what you do. So hopefully this will give them a little taste of what you do, and then we're going to move into our three more ideas, which is a rapid fire round. So question number one: what's your top tip for service-based businesses looking to stand out and attract their ideal clients? Just
Yes.
one or two tips.
Yeah. I would say to do a brand archetype test. If you have a face of the business for the business itself, do a brand archetype test and hone in on a couple personalities inside of that brand archetype that you can put together in order to become the personality for your brand. We oftentimes get a little lost in the shuffle and we have different moods. So those show up online. When we can gear ourselves into a honed in brand archetype, we can really expand based on that. And like I said, don't be vanilla. Really, truly just share, decide what you're going to share. It doesn't have to be, if you're not into politics, don't share politics or anything like that. But decide what you're going to share and go deep into it. And don't be afraid to share your opinion within the realm of the marketplace in general. And that can really attract a lot of the people who have the same feelings as you and attract a more dedicated audience.
Yeah, so basically, you just want us to go in and find out who that ideal audience is when we do this test. Is there like a test you recommend that people do, or you can probably find something out there?
Yeah, the one I use, it's called brand it's excuse me, I'm sorry, Storywell is the name of the company. It's a $25 test. I have no affiliation towards it. I don't make any money on it, but it's the one that I use to give me the data in order to see the brand archetypes. And granted, I studied psychology, so I'm a little bit more into it, but it's a lot of fun. All the clients that I put through it really love it. And it's almost like a permission slip around being more of the person that you want to be, you generally are inside of your brand. And what it does
Mm,
is it helps for people to stop emulating the people online who are successful and start to really hone in on who they are. And that
mm,
genuineness really does show up online, and there's more
Mm.
trust and connection when we do that.
Amazing. Now that's a really great tip. Thanks a lot for that. I think, yeah, I'll definitely be using a test like that to figure that part out. My second question, Heather, is how do you approach team building within your agency?
Okay, so we have a pretty well built out building process when it comes to hiring on. We do a personality test as well to make sure that the personality is good for the team and the people they're going to be working with on team, and things of that sort. But truly, a lot of it is in retaining. So I have my longest team member has been with me for 10 years since the beginning.
Mm,
My right hand person has been with me for almost 6 years. So my team
love
tends
it.
to stick with me. Yeah, and a lot of it is because not only do I make them feel important, I care about what they have going on in their lives. If they have a birthday or a wedding or something to that effect, I want to, give my love around that. But also,
Mm,
I've always wanted my agency to be a place of personal growth. So when they work with us, if there's something that they want to learn and it's within our wheelhouse, I'll buy the training program for that and give them access
mm,
to that. I'll give them an opportunity for growth inside of my business. And then they are not only making money for, working with me, but they also are growing as a person and growing their skill set to make them more marketable in the marketplace. And a lot of people are afraid of doing that, thinking they're going to lose their team members. And that's not the case. Their team members level up, they get better at what they do, and they want to stay because it feels like a good place for growth. So
mm.
there are a lot of things that I do, but I think those two are probably the ones that make them feel like they want to stay and want to dedicate themselves to the business.
Yeah, yeah, just be genuine about their growth and, don't have ulterior motives and things like that. I think that's from listening to you, that's what you're making clear. And and I think like one quote comes to mind is that people don't leave companies, people leave managers. And so
Mm.
that's a huge shout out to you on how you're running things. And we do come across uh, a lot of agency owners who think like that, who have this limiting belief that, hey, if my people train more and if they do better, if I put them in a position of authority, they're going to end up leaving me. Like, like that's the worst way of thinking. Like, I would caution, people to look at those things when they're going for a job. Like, like figure that thing out when you're in an interview. Is it going to be a place like that? Because your boss should be just like Heather, investing in the person, because that's going to help the Heather grow her agency. And I'm sure these two people have been fundamental in the growth of the agency that you have, Heather.
Well, and absolutely. And I've been able to experience them just getting better and better and better at what they do. They're quicker, they're better. And yeah, they feel like they want to be a part of something bigger. And when the client wins come in, they're their wins too. So we all share
Mm,
in the success that we create.
I love it. What a great philosophy. All right. So, my last question to you is, what impact can upgraded messaging have on revenues?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I touched on that a little bit, but I mean, I've seen a minimum in maybe like a 4-part series of emails going out with dialed in messaging, and just taking a look at the offers that are converting well, but aren't necessarily I'm sorry, the offers that are fulfilling well, but aren't necessarily selling well because the messaging is a little bit off. The least that I've made by sending out a few emails is $9,000. And that's to not a very big list, maybe a few thousand people. And it expands from there. So it has an immediate effect on the way that people understand the resolution that you're giving in their lives. They're looking for a problem solved. They're looking for transformation. Like I said, they want
Mm,
to be a part of something bigger. As a business owner, we should understand where the status increase is in the minds of our audience, and allow ourselves to be the one that helps them to achieve that status increase, whatever that is. When we can
mm,
dial in on those little psychological triggers in a healthy, helpful way to them, then they'll
mm,
start to see where we are a part of their lives. And then if we go a second step inside of messaging and differentiate ourselves, show where we are unique in these ways and no one else can really replicate us because of that, then
mm.
they also understand that we're the only ones that can go to get that resolution. And we really wash out a lot of the rest of the marketplace based on that.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah, just such a low hanging fruit. For do you guys typically work with already established service businesses, or are they sometimes new businesses, or what's your typical clientele?
Yeah, most of our clientele is already in business and they've gotten results. So we already have the ability to get case studies and testimonials. I have worked with a handful of people who are starting businesses, but they're not new business owners. They have
Mm,
already been business owners, or they've been in, you know, some sort of a business space where we can start off nice and strong. A lot of the
mm,
people that work with me traditionally, they tend to be well educated and they have people watching them on LinkedIn. They've been in bigger companies, or they've been business owners. So they're
mm,
well aware of the fact that people are watching what they're doing. So they really want something nice and structured well and put together to start out strong. And they'll
mm.
oftentimes come to us to go ahead and build that out.
Nice, nice. That's amazing. All right, so that's a no-brainer, pretty straightforward. If you're building a brand, then you gotta get your story correct, and it's easiest win, right? Like you just work with a company like Heather's, and boom, you're done afterwards. And obviously, there's other things involved, but that's the bottom line. Let's get into our rapid fire round. Three more ideas, Heather.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a few terminologies at you, phrases at you, and let's see what you come up with. So, number one, personal versus business branding.
Mm. Whenever we can do personal branding, we do. Even if it's like Disney versus Bob Iger, right? Even if it's a nice, tight, solid brand, a little bit of personal branding inside of that really does help the brand to grow because they get a presence behind it.
Hmm.
That said, we have transitioned personal brands into business brands in order to get them to sell. And that transition means that we'll generally pull back on the personal branding a bit and push the methodology forward more inside of the
Hmm.
marketing. And that shift gets it ready to move into a business brand.
Yeah, I think it's a important aspect of having, and I think you just mentioned this as well, that the type of clients you're working with already usually have followings and things like that. So it's very hard to separate out the personal from the business, but there's going to be a transition period where you bring in what you're doing with the personal, and then the business takes over and things like that. So I think, yeah, yeah, that explains it very clearly. Um, Here's another one for you: remote versus on-site employees.
I love remote employees. My whole team for the 10 years that I've been around is dispersed. You just have the ability to source talent no matter where they live. So there's such accessibility to amazing, amazing talent when you have a business to where you have the capability to and open up the space to
Mm,
build a remote team. I'm a huge fan of it. And it gives people the lifestyle to be flexible in what they do as well. One of my
mm,
team members, she married a someone who went to medical school, and he's doing his residencies. So they're moving a lot right now through residencies, but she's able to
mm,
stay with us and have consistent income because she's working remotely.
right.
So it doesn't matter where she lives. So there's just so much more breadth of opportunity when you're building a brand remotely.
Love it. And I guess you've been doing it way before the post-COVID. I saw a lot of agencies move into hybrid teams and remote-only teams. And, agency owners in particular, we've had this experience working with remote employees, but just the entire world is changing around us. A lot of other small businesses are going remote, especially post-COVID. But that's great. You're already, doing it before it was fashionable, and it works out.
Yeah, and it was easier because I was already doing it. So when all of that happened, we jumped in and we got busy really, really quickly, and we knew how to manage it. So yeah, the
Nice.
COVID didn't impact us as much as it did the vast majority of businesses, gratefully.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So here's my last one.
Okay.
Favorite CRM.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. I was just telling you beforehand, we use so many. Um, Gosh, you know what? It's based on what I like the business owners to not go in and like move things and touch them around. Nothing like that. Like don't change up what we did. But I love for them to have the capacity to go in and take a look at their business. So for
Mm,
me, CRM, the, the best opportunity is what team and the business owner can comprehend It doesn't need to be incredibly intricate in order
Hmm.
to work. So, I mean, for funnels, we've built on, like I said, ClickFunnels and Kajabi and Infusionsoft or Keep and Go High Level and a multitude of others as well. There's some high security ones we built on, and I brought in a specialist to manage the high security sites. So there's a lot that we've done in the past, and really truly, it's what the accessibility of the business needs in order
Hmm.
for them to have, yeah, just kind of ownership over it, really.
Yeah,
But it
that's a
all
great
looks
answer.
pretty much the same. Yeah, if you're building it
Yeah.
well and you know a little coding to put things in place, you can make everything look good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, I guess an analogy would be for a $10 million business, high level might not be the best option for them. It might be HubSpot or Salesforce or something like that, right? So,
Yes.
um, even though there'll be a lot of arguments on both sides of the table, but I think it does make sense that what's good for the business that we're going in helping out, and not having a cookie cutter approach, because I think that goes against your philosophy, right? Because your whole thing is that build out the uniqueness, so the software stack is kind of be a part of that uniqueness.
Absolutely. Yeah. And software, I mean, it's important at a certain level. Obviously, if you have a big list and you're sending to millions of people, you want an email platform that will send for you. But overall, as long as the upload time is good and you're getting your message across, that's what matters more than the technology behind it. As long as the technology is functional, truly your message, the ability for people to connect with it is going to mean more than any of that at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, this was fantastic, Heather. I think there's great learnings over here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I hope to see you soon. Have a
Thank you so
fantastic
much.
rest of the day, Heather.
Oh, you as well.